Welcome back to what? Consumer Labs. We're going to talk about what do you need to make real music in 2023. Now, I'm going to tell you now, don't let nobody fool you. They're going to tell you, you need this, you need this keyboard, you need a Yamaha, you need a Roland, you need all these different things, you need some Dawson. You don't need that. What you need to make great music, no matter what you're playing, is talent and skills and time. That's what you need. That's it. Now, the hardware I'm going to show you today is just to show you how you're going to get that accomplished. Because everybody is different. Some people like hands-on, and some people like using a computer. And that's okay. Either way, you can make some great sounds, right? And once again, I'm just going to show you the hardware today, and I'll pick up on the software at a later time. If you want to see it sooner, just leave a comment below. But with that being said, let's take a look at some of the hardware. Now, there's different ways of looking at this. If you are the type of person that does not, I say it again, does not want to be bothered with a computer to make music, then you know what you're going to probably need? You're going to need a workstation. And that's what I'm showing you right now. This here is a full-fledged workstation. It's made by Roland. It's the Phantom X. And this is a full-weighted keyboard. And what they mean by full-weighted keyboard is that basically it's got the weight of a real professional piano. Now, why is that? Why? Well, sometimes you want to be more expressive. And if you do want to be that, then you're going to probably want a full-weighted keyboard. Now, some people are going to argue and say, well, you can get expressive with a semi-weighted. This is true. But with that being said, keep in mind, a full-weight keyboard, you get a more of a, it's just don't, I don't know how to explain it. You just got to play it. It just gives you a little bit more onto it, a little bit more expression, a little bit more emotions that you just can't get with just plopping down on the keyboard. I'm just saying. All right. Now, moving forward, so with a workstation, you have all these knobs. You have analog knobs. You have obviously got a screen there. You have this one. You have also a drum pad. It's a full-fledged workstation, which means, once again, I could literally make multiple tracks right on this. Now, there are some limitations with a lot of the workstations that there's only about so many tracks you can use, which is a given. But nevertheless, right, you can do it right here. So, because you got to remember, not everybody cares to be working with a computer all the time. I mean, they just want to jump on a keyboard and start making the music. So, another disadvantage with a workstation, though, is the editing. Now, if you want to do some very detailed editing and some effects and all that, then the workstation is going to pretty much limit you in that respect. But the reality is this. If you are a great player, it really wouldn't matter, right? Even if you're not the best player, you can still do enough editing to come out with a great sound. You know, people need to stop thinking that, oh, well, I gotta spend $1,300 or $14,000, whatever it may be, on a bunch of equipment. That's just not the case. All right, moving forward. So now, if you like computers and you're good with computers, you feel comfortable with them, then you're gonna probably want to deal with a MIDI controller. And that's what this is. This one is made by Native Instrument. So you got your MIDI controller, you got your software, right? Obviously on your computer, which we call a DAW, and that's a digital audio workstation. And this allows you to play, I'm telling you now, Native Instrument, by the way, make the best. And I'm not just saying this because, like, I'm not getting paid by them, but let me tell you something. They got some of the best instruments out there. And I will tell you this, though. I will add to that, is that with a workstation, a DAW, right, it's going to allow you to, you could put thousands of tracks, I should say thousands of tracks. You could put lots and lots of tracks and just lay them down. So it does give you a lot more flexibility. Your editing capability is way better, and your effects are also better. But the disadvantage with working with a DAW is really depending on what your chokehold is your computer. So if you don't have a good computer, then you're going to run into some problems. And I'm going to tell you now, especially if you're dealing with instruments that are really thick in texture and sound, if your computer is not powerful enough, it's just not going to handle it. And I would say at this time of age, you shouldn't get nothing less than an i7 processor. i7 processor, at least minimum 16 gigabyte of RAM, and you're going to probably need a 2 terabyte hard drive, because if you're going to get like big software like from Native Instrument or some of these other companies, you're going to need to store all this data, because some of the instruments, file size are like in a gigabyte. So You're going to need that. All right, so once again, this here is considered a DAW. We have a digital audio workstation. And if you're good with computers and you're good with the keyboard, of course, then that's all you really need. You don't need the workstation. That's all you need. And by the way, don't let nobody fool you. I need a special, no, you don't. Just get a regular MIDI controller. I picked this one because I like the way it interfaces with Native Instrument. Now, moving on. If you're the type of person now that just want to play live instruments, like you have a band and you want to really get into, you got live guitars, bass, and all that type of stuff, then you're going to need a mixing board. You're definitely going to need a mixing board. There's no ifs, ands about that because that's the only way to get all multiple sounds in. And as you can see here, this, by the way, is 8-track. And, well, it's 24, but actually 8 inputs. And here you can see you bring all your inputs inside, whether it's your keyboard, your guitar, your bass, whatever it may be, you bring it in and you mix it out. Now, that's what you're going to need if you're doing things that are live. You got keyboards, you got guitars, stuff like that. You're going to need a track board. Now, with that being said, with that, you don't really need a track board when you're dealing with just a MIDI setup, a DAW setup. You don't really need that because, like I said, if you're just going to be using your keyboard to play all the instruments and stuff like that, you don't need that, right? So with that being said, there's another possibility that you might be thinking about. You might not be a keyboardist at all. You might be a terrible keyboardist and you really don't know your chords, you don't know your notes, any of that. Well, guess what? Sampling time. That's where we go. We go down to sampling time. And with this here, this, by the way, is the Maschine Plus. And this one here is the MPC Live. And they both are self-contained units, which means that I don't need my computer to operate these. I can literally make any track I want, and I don't need a computer to do so, which is which gives you a lot of flexibility. Once again, if you're not a computer person, you don't like, or you just don't like really making music with the computer, then here we go. Now, again, you will always be the disadvantage is that whenever you're working without a computer, you got to keep in mind that your editing capabilities will be sort of limited because obviously with a computer, you got a big screen, you got the keyboard, you got the mouse, you can go around and edit stuff way more faster than you can do on these particular systems. But once again, it comes down to what? Skills. Every single time, no matter what you use, it's always going to come down to skills more than just the hardware. The hardware is only a tool, like the same thing as a hammer to a nail. That's all it is. Can I still put a nail in a wall without a hammer? Of course I can. They've been doing that before a hammer was invented. Of course they could. Absolutely. Right? But the same thing here. Can I make tracks, hot tracks, without a computer and all that? Of course I can. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Again, skills. So once again, you can make all your music. This is more for sampling, though, direct sampling. I could take keyboard sound. I mean, anything your mind can think of, you can sample it. But this also comes with, both of these, by the way, come with built-in sounds. You got expansion packs, etc., etc. Right? But last but not least is the speakers. Oh my gosh. If you don't have good speakers, you might as well just forget about it. These are Yamahas, and I'm going to tell you now, you need great speakers. You don't have to be Yamaha. I'm just saying that's what I have in front of you, and you got to have great speakers. Now, when you buy speakers, by the way, this is all for 2023. I'm just showing you how simple it can be. You don't want to buy speakers that are regular household speakers. You want to buy speakers that are what we call monitors. Why? Because they give more of a flat response. That's what you need. If you buy other type of speakers that you normally, blast in your house, they emphasize and enhancing the sound to make it sound better. You don't want that. What you really want is a flat response so you could go ahead and adjust and mix things down as it should be, and it should sound the way you heard it and you produced it, right? This is what it goes without saying. So you get monitor speakers and you get monitor type of headphones. Do not go out and buy, right, the Apple headsets and be talking about, oh, this headsets I want to use to make my music with. Because we all know I have the Apple headsets, the Max, and I know that they are tuned and enhanced to give that sound to that extra sound. You don't want that when you produce the music, that is. All right, so that is it. That's a wrap right there. I gave you a basic idea on what you need to do. Just to summarize it, if you're 2023, sorry, you don't need a lot. It depends on where you are in this music game. As you can see, I don't need 40, 50 keyboards, right? You go to some people's studios and they got keyboards stacked up and they got all this stuff. Like, are you serious? Are you for real? Right? Like, you don't really need that. Like, you can't even play. Like, yo, one of my men, they got like 5 keyboards. Like, you can't play 5 keyboards at one time. That's a joke. The reason why you get different keyboards anyway, to be honest with you, is to get the sounds. That's it. But if you rap really good into sounds, you really, really like that, then you might just want to get yourself a MIDI and a DAW and be gone with it. And that way you get thousands of sounds, right? You get what I'm saying? Or if you really want to do something, yeah, get a workstation and just get one that have something like this where you could expand it. This is the Roland Phantom X8. By the way, this is an older model, right? But nevertheless, if I'm really that good, really that desperate for new sound, I just add expansions like I have here. That's what you do. You don't need to get 20, 30, 50. I mean, it's crazy. I gotta see people in the studio. Like, when the last time you used that? Come on, it's a joke. It's a joke. You're just buying to be buying, which is okay if you got the money like that. But do you really need that? Answer is no. I truly believe, though, I'm just going to give you my opinion here. This is just my opinion. I believe with today that what you really could do is a little bit of everything is probably best. That's how I see it. And why do I say that? Because I have a workstation, right? And I'm not saying get this right away. That's great. Workstation great because the processor in here is dedicated, for the system. It's not going to choke. No matter what, it's not going to choke. This Roland, no matter how many layers of sounds I add, it ain't choking. Whereas when you're dealing with a MIDI, everything, I kid you not, everything depends on your computer. If your processor suck, if you ain't got a good RAM in there, it goes bad real quick. It starts to choke, right? And when I mean choke, it starts to stutter, and you don't want that. That's why a lot of people don't really like working with digital work all the time. A lot of times what we tend to, I'm just giving you advice. What we normally do is we tend to make as much as we can do on the DAW, or we do something with with another keyboard, whatever, and then we come in on the computer and we kind of like mix it down, add some effects and stuff like that. That's usually how I do it. I normally do hardware and then I bring in some other instrument, whether it is my workstation, some other keyboard, maybe have someone come and throw a couple guitar licks or bass lines, and I do a little mix like that because it just, music is like expression, and you can't express yourself if you're just doing just one way. Like, computers is great, but to be honest with you, if I had someone playing a violin and I play violin notes on my keyboard, it ain't gonna sound the same. I don't care anybody tell you. It's not gonna sound the same. It's just not. There's no way in the world you're gonna convince me it sounds the same. And if you do think it's the same, that's because you ain't got the right ear for it. A true violinist, a person who's playing a violin or guitar or something like that, they're gonna know it's just gonna sound different. It's just different. It really is different. And once again, it all depends on what you're trying to do. Now, with that being said, at the end of the day, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're a computer person and you're good with a computer, get the DAW. Get a MIDI controller, nice MIDI controller. Hook up with some software like Native Instrument or Logic Pro or any of those, and you're good to go. That's all you need. Don't let nobody fool you. And of course, it's great speakers. If you're sitting there and you're a type of person and you're going to have live instrument, you got a band, real live band, get a mixing board. That's what you need. You need that. Simple as that. Right? And you're good to go. If you don't like none of that and you don't need none of that, you're a one-man band and you don't want to be bothered with a computer, you don't want to do any of that, then you get a DAW. This DAW have drum pads. So I can play the drum pads on my DAW. No big deal. Or I can jump on a keyboard and do both. You get what I'm saying? So that is it from Consumer Labs. We hope that this gave you a little insight on what you need in 2023 to make music. And the truth of the matter, it comes down to skills, right? Today we're talking about the hardware, but in the future we'll be talking about the software. So with that being said, leave a comment below. You know what? We'll talk.
I told you many times, I need that accelerator fix. By the way, how's your daughter doing?
Sir, please, don't hurt her.